Hey.
Hey. I was like, oh God, that was really cheesy. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the week before Christmas episode of Case Files with Kat.
And Ashley. And Kevin. Kevin 2.0. Yes, sorry.
And Kevin.
Yes, all the Kevins.
So we will. I'm going to get this off the start. Just we're going to tell you the bad news. Next week it is Christmas week, so we have Ashley out traveling. I'm probably going to be drinking, and so we're just gonna we're not gonna plan for a show next week. I know you're also disappointed, but we're gonna do a Christmas episode today, and we are planning for a New Year's week episode. So you'll get to hear our lovely voices just before 2022. Isn't that insane?
Yes.
Because 2021 has been some like bullshit.
Definitely. I'm so over it. so over it.
Started out okay, and then it froze, and then it's just kind of all been spiraling downhill.
Yes.
So, how are you doing? You're festive over there. I'm festive over here.
Yes, I have, for those, because no one can see, I have a Grinch background and Christmas lights on my Zoom. And I even bought snowman earrings today, so it was super Christmassy. Super.
Wow, really? Did Sarah talk you into that?
Nope.
Oh, wow, you did it all by yourself?
Just all by myself. Before the luncheon, I walked into a CVS and I saw some snowman earrings, and I was like, you know what? Those are the ones.
Oh, the snow globe. Yeah, those were good. Yeah, those were good. Okay, so I know that you're not drinking because
I'm not drinking, but I'd like to say that our friend and listener and I would just say dearest friend, Kathy, she's been traveling around with her and her husband, and they're stopping at a bunch of different breweries, and she's been sending me can art and like just different photos from different breweries they're going to. So I'm going to post all those on our social media this week, because I think it's kind of cool to see different beers from different places. So anyways, thank you, Kathy.
Kathy, bring us home some beer. Please.
I think she's going to try. I think she's going to try too.
I know it's hard to backpack with like a bunch of beer in your bag, but you know, it's for science, Kathy. It's for science. So I kind of have a long story tonight, and there's so many twists and turns, and I feel a little crazy. Like I need the string and the whiteboard. I need all of that. So I feel like you're going to have some questions. And then it's just super frustrating. It's a super frustrating story. But I do have a question of the week. So it was a predictive text. And since it's our Christmas episode, and I do love the Grinch, the predictive text was, the Grinch stole my, and then you finish it. Mm-hmm. So
mine was very simple. Mine was, the Grinch stole my mom. Period. In sentence. that was my whole, the Grinch stole my mom.
Poor Susan.
Please bring her back. Thank you.
Poor Susan. So mine was, I had to keep going. I guess I could have ended it after. Okay, so mine is, the Grinch stole my phone, so you don't have to worry about me being online.
Oh, I kept going after my mom, but it just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Oh really?
Yeah. That makes sense.
It does make sense, and that's sad, because I think it would be more like, the Grinch stole my phone and I don't know what to do with myself. That would have been more accurate. That's sad.
I'd totally be lost.
I know. My kids are like, you could hang out with us. Pathetic. Mom of the Year. So tonight, woo! I am pause, wait. So we actually are gonna put our weekly voicemails at the beginning of our show. So we have one of our dearest, closest fans, Dev, left us a voicemail, so you're going to listen to that here. And if someone wants to come up with a little jingle for us to put for this, like, It's our weekly voicemails. Yeah. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
We can just insert jingle here. Enjoy the voicemails.
Hello. I am late leaving this recording because I am disappointingly terrible with technology, and it took me a while to figure out how to leave a voicemail until I finally saw that cute little icon in the bottom right-hand corner. It was very elusive. My just selective blindness, I guess. But yay! Ashley, I hope you feel better very, very soon. Kat, you are super, super awesome. So are you, Ashley. You're both incredible. I'm obsessed with y'all, obsessed with this podcast. It was in my top Spotify Wrapped this year. And y'all are just the greatest. Please never stop making this show. You're both so wonderful. All right. I guess bye. Bye. Yay, voicemails.
Yay!
If you don't know how to leave us a voicemail, visit our website and leave us voicemails. We love it. We put the other two on our last episode at the end, but now we want to put them in the front. So
now we're going to put them at the front so that you don't log off before.
Can I please also just note that Dev said that we were on the Spotify 2021 Wrapped for the playlist. I feel like we should be on everyone's top, or maybe what year is this? 2021? Yes. On everyone's top Spotify playlist. So, you know, I'm just saying some of you could be better fans. That's all I'm saying.
Snap a picture.
I'm just kidding.
Post it. Just snap a picture and post it. All right. Okay. So I'm going to get into my story. So tonight I'm going to be talking about, it's something that happened in 1999. So on December 30th, 1999, this is 22 years ago. This is crazy. Wow. 22 years ago and just couple of weeks. I'm going to talk about the murders of Danny and Kathy Freeman and the disappearance of their daughter, Ashley Freeman, and her BFF, Laura Bible. And this happened, it all took place in a little town called Welch in Oklahoma. Now, Welch is a very small town. There's only about 600 residents. So,
wow.
Small town.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, like, not everybody knew each other, but they all kind of did. But, like, man, my high school was barely that big, you know, and I guess I didn't know everybody, but still. Anyway, so this took place on December 30th, 1999, and for her birthday, her 16th birthday, Ashley wanted her best friend since they were kids, Laura, to spend the night. So they went to Laura's house to get permission, and her father, Laura's father, reminded her that she had animals to take care of the next day, and so farm animals, things like that. So she had to be home by noon. And it was okay for her to go. I mean, this was her very best friend. And her last words to her dad were, "I love you, Daddy."
Aww.
And she grabbed her stuff and ran out to the car. He said, so some of the quotes, if I say any quotes, or if I say like, well, he said or she said, it's because there's a very good 4-part docuseries on HBO Max that came out in 2019 called Hell. Oh my gosh. See, my whole brain just crapped out.
Hell in the Heartland.
Hell in the Heartland. Wow. Thank you. God dang it. So they give really good interviews and they talk to a lot of people. And so when her dad said that, you know, this is just you don't think that the last words you're ever going to hear from your kid, a 16-year-old, is "I love you, Daddy." That's just not what you expect when they go out. And our kids spend the night at other kids' houses. That's super common. And so this is like a nightmare. They're not home with you.
Way to scare all the parents out there right before Christmas break. Good job.
Yay! No sleepovers. He didn't think anything of it at all. At Ashley's house that night were Ashley's two parents. Kathy and Danny Freeman, and then Laura and Ashley. So it was the four of them. But also there to celebrate earlier in the night was Ashley's boyfriend. She dated him for like a year and a half, 2 years. Sweet kid. They used to go hunting and fishing together. Ashley was very athletic. She was very quick. And she loved to hunt and fish. So she was just like kind of like a fun person to hang around. When he left, he said it was like 8:30 or 9 and everything seemed okay. So that was the last person to see any of them alive again. Now Laura she seemed really sweet. She was her first cousin would say she would be a tomboy one minute and a cheerleader the next. She was indeed a cheerleader. She was really kind. She loved animals. She was just, these two girls were two peas in a pod. And even though they went to separate schools, they still were very much, they're still very much connected. And so in the very early morning of December 30th, 1999, a nearby couple was on their way to work and they said that they saw some smoke in the distance, like billowing smoke in the distance. So this was probably about 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So very, very early. And soon they find the Freeman's trailer home completely engulfed in flames. It's totally on fire. So of course they call 911. The first to arrive is the fire department and then the county sheriff's department. And the head of that department was Sheriff George Vaughn, and he was active from 1996 to 2000. The sheriff's department sees that Laura's car is there, so they know they're going to have to notify her parents. So, I mean, like small town, they know that that's Laura's car. Her mom worked at a restaurant in a nearby town called Veneta, very close, like maybe a 30-minute drive. These towns are so small, like the next town's just a hop, skip, and a jump. So they sent one of the deputies to the restaurant to notify Lauren Bible. So Lauren Bible, Ashley Freeman. So Lauren Bible was told that she said they asked her, "Do you know the Freemans?" And she said, "Yes, my daughter was there last night for sleepover." And he said, "Well, there's a fire at the house, and we need you to come down." And she said, have they found anybody? Have they found my daughter? And he said, they found one body. So that's all they had. So she. So and again, reminding you, so there's Kathy and Danny Freeman, the parents, Ashley Freeman, and Lauren Bible, who were the 16-year-olds. So Lorraine calls her husband, and they hightail it to the Freeman's house and are obviously just hoping for some good news. Good news though, right?
Yeah.
The Bibles arrived to the scene at about 9:15 in the morning. And at this point, there's, the yellow tape, and they're really far back, and they're just kind of watching. Laureen, who honestly seems to be a badass, she's a badass, like truly, and you'll get to see why, but she's a badass. She says that when they get there, they're all just sitting down. She says they're milling about. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of action going on. That they already had, the sheriff's department had already just gone ahead and called the OSBI, which is the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. So I guess that's the FBI of Oklahoma. I don't know. I don't know. Georgia State Bureau of Energy. I don't know. So Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation for help. So this was a big enough deal. The fact that there was only one body found, the house had burned down, And there were 2 teenagers in the house, seemed suspicious enough to involve this larger agency rather than just this like sheriff's office, right?
Yeah.
So the OSBI guy shows up finally around 10:15, and the agent that's leading this whole scene his name is Steve Nutter, Nutter, Nutter. And he was an active agent with OSBI from 1987 to 2011. I will say this. He declined to be interviewed or to comment on in the documentary.
That's weird.
I don't know that I would after everything comes to light. Maybe just you got to retire and not go to jail. I don't know. Just maybe, Anyway, so he shows up about 10:15. But here's the thing. When the OSBI show up, there isn't like another search done. They kind of get out of the car. They look around. There doesn't seem to be a lot of action. And they say that, well, we're going to have to wait for the medical examiner. So there's more waiting. And it wasn't until 2 p.m. So 5 hours after the Bibles arrived at the Freeman property that the medical examiner arrived. And she goes in, and they still, at this point, still have no information on their daughter's whereabouts, on Ashley or Laura. There's no information on where they are. Are they looking? Is there an APB out? Nothing. They've got nothing. So right now they've got one body, a burned up trailer, and that's all they're worried about right now. So when the medical examiner comes out of the house, she knows Laureen Bible. She knows Laureen and Jay Bible. And so she goes like, look, I can't reveal too much. So she does tell the Bibles that after she examined the woman, they discovered it was a woman who had a wedding band on her left hand. And it was evident that she had bore children. So this immediately gives Laureen the knowledge that A, this is not their child, or Ashley for that matter, and that was probably Kathy Freeman in that they found. So it was decided that at that point, like they still don't know where their daughter is. The medical examiner comes out and says that it is indeed Kathy Freeman, and that she was found in the bedroom, face down, on the waterbed. Since it was a waterbed, it exploded in the fire, and this is so interesting, but the fact that it was a waterbed kept her body preserved because it was soaking wet.
Yeah.
The fire heated it up, and then so she was still burned up.
Yeah.
But she had they could still see a lot of her.
Yeah.
She wasn't completely burned to a crisp. Like it wasn't just bones, right?
Yeah.
But when the medical examiner filed her report, it stated in the report that she was actually dead before the fire. It was not the fire that killed her. She was shot in the back of the head with a shotgun. Because they were able to recover shotgun pellets. Insane. So, okay, this is super sus.
Your story is stressing me out, and we're like 19 minutes in.
Really? And it just gets worse. Apologies for it being long, everybody. So here we go. All right. So this changes everything immediately. They're like, well, it seemed like it was just a really awful accident, house fire, right? In the bright early morning hours. And there's just one person dead. However, all of a sudden, it's a homicide and a possible arson. She was shot in the back of the head. That's
Yeah.
And there's 2 teenagers missing. So right away, they find the 1 body and they're missing 3. And immediately, like, how many stories have we told where it's a married couple? And I mean, who do you suspect?
Well, they always suspect the spouse. Yeah.
They always suspect the spouse. So right away, they're like, the dad did this, took the girls, abducted the girls, and he burned down the house to try to cover it up.
Seems super extra.
Right? Right? So what do we know about Danny Freeman? Because now we're like, well, it's his fault. He did this, right? So what do we know about him? Well, the documentary filmmakers were like, well, he is not an angel. Like, he was not an angel. Because you would think he had all these things that would make him the suspect, right? He had a history of violence, especially with domestic violence. He did have a restraining order against him. So like, yeah. So I mean, like, he wasn't awesome. You know,
it wasn't crazy for them to suspect him then, right? Like, I mean, with his record, I guess.
Sure, but they're still missing kids, right? They're still missing kids. So, like, they're not, like, looking for the kids yet. So right now, no one's looking for kids.
Wow.
Right now. So on the day of the fire, Dwayne, Danny's brother-in-law, received a report from one law enforcement official that said, he said that Danny Freeman had been spotted with the girls at a remote cabin. They asked him, do you know this place? And Dwayne, his name is Dwayne Venzel. He says the ADA called him and there's this cabin by the pond. Do you know it? Dwayne says, yeah, that's where we were raised. It's like a camp, it's a little camp. And so they told him that, well, we got reports that Danny's over there with the 2 girls and he's just waiting for the law to come up to get him. And
it's a very specific report.
And so Dwayne's like, oh, yeah. You know, you can tell that it really upsets him. He's like, oh, yeah, well, if you really think that he did that, I will go with you. So this is in the evening of December 30th now. Now we're 8+ hours past the initial reports. Hours and hours passed. And he's like, yeah, well, if you're wanting to go, I'll go with you because, you know, he's not going to talk to you. He'll talk to me, though. And I don't want anyone to get hurt. And the police are like, nah, you know, we'll just go in the morning.
What?
You know, if you... If you think that the killer of a woman and abductor of 2 children is at a cabin waiting for the law, then you show up.
Yeah, like, what in the fuck? I'm sorry.
Dwayne's like, so that's it. That never gets brought up again. That's never brought up again. He doesn't go. And then the next day, all hell breaks loose. At approximately 6 p.m., 8 hours after arriving on the scene, OSBI concludes their on-scene investigation. They turn the crime scene over to Dwayne Venzel, the stepbrother of Danny, and they say, okay, we're done. That's it. This makes me want to flip my computer over on itself. Like, I'm just like, what? Because one of the investigators, like, there are traffic accidents that take longer to resolve.
So what I'm hearing is if you're going to murder someone, do it in Oklahoma.
Yes, there's a lot of that, according to this report. Okay, so, like I said, this Nutter guy, OSBI agent Nutter, refuses to comment on why they concluded and opened up the crime scene. Now it's open. There's no tape. That's it. They're done. They're done with the arsoned home.
And dead body.
And dead body. They took the dead body away, but for the autopsy, but that's it. So by New Year's Eve morning, Laureen and Jay Bible are like, there's still nobody looking for the girls. We aren't getting any help from the sheriff's department, from OSBI, nothing. So we're just going to show up. They didn't close. It's not closed off anymore. So they go over to the Freeman's house. They're upset. They're worried. So they're taking matters into their own hands at this point, right? They're thinking maybe they would find the ashes of another body. Maybe they would see something else. Jay says that he goes into the I want to say into the bedroom, but there's nothing. There's no into anything. He's just like walking on rubble. He goes to where Kathy was found. And he says he thought he was looking at a bowl of hamburger meat when he realized, oh my God, that's a man's body. Next to the waterbed that Kathy was found in. His feet were just basically under the corner of the waterbed, but his face was gone. His chin is still there and his teeth are there, but the rest was just like, ugh. It's all just kind of gone.
Yeah.
So Jay told Laureen to call the sheriff's department, but they knew that it was Danny. They knew that it was. So the stepbrother, Dwayne, also had the idea to go over to the Freeman's property and take a look around. And he sees Laureen and Jay there, and they're like, come over here. We think we found a body. We found a body. We found a body. And he goes over there and he goes, yep, that's Danny, because Danny had reconstructive surgery in his forehead, and they put a stainless steel wire in this part of his forehead, right?
Yeah.
And so that was still there. So it was most definitely him. So between the OSBI, the sheriff's department, hell, the fire department, nobody saw this body. They could see, the Bibles could see that he was wearing gray sweatpants, a flannel shirt, and a white t-shirt. And the fucked up thing, I'm going to say the F word a lot in this one. The fucked up thing about it was that you could see boot marks from where they walked on him.
Oh my God. Like how, I don't understand how that even happens.
It is so frustrating. It is so frustrating. He was always there.
I'm assuming the waterbed kind of prevented him from becoming.
Yeah, because it just exploded, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the medical examiner confirmed it was indeed him. And like Kathy, he died from a shotgun wound to the face. He was shot in the face, which is why his face was gone. At this point, the authorities switched their story from Danny did it and abducted the girls to the girls did it, and they're on the lam. They're just on the run. 24 hours later, there is still no APB out for the girls. There's no investigation happening as to their whereabouts. There's no anything. There's no Amber Alert, nothing. There's nothing put out. Now, with 2 bodies confirmed homicides on the scene, then investigators decide that they're going to try to put the tape back up and make it a crime scene once again.
After everyone's been just walking wherever and finding bodies and stuff, now they're going to make it a crime scene.
Now they're going to do that. How do you go back? How do you go back and try to make it a crime scene? Everyone's already walked through this shit. Like, how are you going to do that? It's like, ugh. Okay. So they were going to try to do a repeat of day number 1, but Lorraine Bible was like, nope. She's like, you're not putting me in the corner anymore, right? I'm going to be here. I'm going with you to look at everything. I want to see what you're doing because you did not find this man before. She was pissed. So Jay calls the local, they're like, they just decide they're going to have their own investigation, right? So Jay calls the local radio station, and by 10 a.m., they have about 500 people there helping search for the girls on that property.
Damn.
500. And they do the search. They do like there's people on little vehicles. There's people on horseback, people walking. There's dogs out there, everything. They're looking for these girls. So residents of Welch were shocked. I mean, if you didn't know them, you had friends that age, you had family members that age. It freaked them out. It was a tiny little community, and like double homicide and arson and 2 kids missing. I mean, it's freaked them out. So they did a 5-mile circle around the whole farm that day, and it was cold outside. This is New Year's Eve, right? And what's so crazy is because the police are letting them do it. The police they've got no control anymore. They're just like, okay, I guess we're going to have all these strangers like combing through and pointing at things. And if they found something interesting, they'd be like, hey, OSBI. And they'd come and they'd take it and mark it and whatever.
Yeah.
Like they were just, okay. They couldn't say no to Laureen and Jay. And so there they are. And that's great. It was so great for them to have the whole community come together and to help. But it was so bad because if they'd actually found any evidence, it would have been inadmissible in court.
Yeah.
Right? Because there were so many people. There were so many hands. They were literally sifting through the ashes. She was sifting through the ashes, hoping to find her daughter's bones. I can't even imagine. But, you know, the filmmakers, like from the law standpoint, like this is crazy. There's just people walking all through your crime scene, and that is not helpful, right? The girls still missing. Had not been entered into NCIC. There was not an Amber Alert put out. And of course, okay, I just said NCIC. NCIC stands for National Crime Information Center. So it's the national database that alerts law enforcement about people missing or in danger. And it wasn't until Lorraine Bible went to go talk to the OSB agent, Nutter. And he was like, oh, yeah, of course, I'll put it up. I'll enter them into NCIC. So she asked one of her sheriff's department friends. He's like, oh, I can look it up to see if they're in there. They are still not in there.
Oh,
so
my
like
God.
there's just run around. Like there's 2 missing teenagers and they're waiting to search for them. Why? No Amber Alert, no APB, no local departments are being told about anything. This is like policing 101. You don't wait. If you have adolescent children, underage children missing, you don't wait. So Laureen and Jay, their little police department, made the first missing posters. It wasn't even the OSBI. They put together a poster and they printed it out and they posted it all over town. They had help to do it, but it wasn't a law enforcement agency doing that. Now, Dwayne, Danny's brother-in-law, was out hunting near his property 2 weeks before the murders happened. And so for him, you know, he kind of had like an initial theory right away. He said that Danny was with him, and this is 2 weeks before the murders. And he said Danny looked scared, and he poked him in the chest and said, Dwayne, if anything happens to me, you look at the sheriff's department. If I get killed, you look at the sheriff's department. So obviously Dwayne's like, well, the sheriff's department's in on it, right?
Yeah.
So the Freeman family is pretty adamant about this. They say, like, they think the sheriff's department, their bungling of it set aside, that maybe there was some more sinister reasons for them. Why do you ask? Well, a year prior, almost to the day, a year prior to these deaths, Danny and Kathy's son, Shane Freeman, was shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy. Now, Shane was a great athlete. He was popular. He was popular with the girls. He was a good-looking kid. For the most part, had stayed out of trouble, but then things started to get really wonky for him. And later in his life, he started to do like break-ins and steal cars and things like that. At one point, he actually even broke into the Bible's house and ate their food and stole their guns. And so on this particular day is when that happened. So he stole a truck, broke into the Bible's home, stole their guns and food, and he was out on the run. He was kind of going from like town to town, just doing, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with him, but he was not doing well. He got to that point, though, in life where people would see him and they would be like, oh, there's Shane Freeman. Yeah. Like he started to get a bad reputation. His shenanigans got more and more dangerous. So when the truck, the guns, everyone's out looking for him. And then the truck, the stolen truck, breaks down on the side of the road. And so this was January 8th, 1999. His sister is dead, or all of this happens December 30th, right? So like just in that same calendar year. So the deputy is aware that this kid is wanted and probably armed. And so when he sees that he's pulled over on the side of the road, he's aware that this kid could be dangerous. Now, this is contested by a lot of people. But what the deputy says is that he shot him and killed him in self-defense. The Freeman family was told by the sheriff that their son had been killed, and he stated that there was no gun visible. This is what the Freeman say. He said, no gun visible. But 3 days later, they gave a press conference, and they said he did have his gun drawn, and he was shot in self-defense. The deputy was given, lie detector tests. There's just no concrete evidence that anything malicious happened. There were Justice for Shane posters, though, put up everywhere. The Freemans did make a stink. And it was said that like Ashley and her boyfriend would even get stopped going into town on dates. Like it just kind of felt like the sheriff's department sort of had it out for the Freemans, right?
Yeah.
But the deputy did get off. He took polygraph tests, passed. Didn't make anyone feel any better, but that's just the way that it is. So Lauria and Jay Bible, however, do not believe that the sheriff's department had anything to do with it. They're like, look, he passed the polygraph test. Like that's it. End of story. There's just you can't get caught up in he said, she said kind of stuff. But both families had lost faith in OSBI and in the police. So the Freemans hire their own private investigator, and Lorene and Jay become their own police department. And they're like, forget these guys. They're not going to even worry about law enforcement. They're going to do it on their own. So in 2000, Sheriff Vaughn loses his reelection bid, and a new sheriff comes into town named Jimmy Suter. And part of his campaigning involved this case. He was like, his top priority was going to be to solve this case. And so at this point, this is when they start to get some CIs, confidential informants. They get some jailhouse snitches in a different county, in Ottawa County. And immediately they start talking about this New Year's Eve party where the girls are being held against their will. This is coming from multiple sources. The problem is this party is at a meth house and had apparently gone on for days by some reports. And there's talk of this video of a young, dirty blonde-haired girl on her knees, tied up, being abused by these guys. Way back when, this area of Oklahoma was like booming. It was just this cute little town. Lots of people were living there. There was mining, there was agriculture, but those industries really went downhill and basically disappeared from this part of Oklahoma. And so it just became a breeding ground for lots of drugs. And especially in the 80s and 90s, crack and meth started to really come into focus. And so the rumors made the investigators think that maybe there was some kind of connection between Danny and the meth world. And because there had been these other rumors that he was selling, you know, on the side, some marijuana. He was growing and selling very small scale marijuana. So back to the meth New Year's Eve party. It was said to have taken place at a meth cook's place named Chester Shadwick. They searched his property, which is only a few miles from the Freeman's house. The search doesn't happen until June 21st, 2000. So 6-7 months later. And they're looking for the VHS tape with this said video on it. But they find no physical evidence and he's never charged with anything. Then they begin to look at the Glover family. It's a father and son meth cooking team. If you cook meth, a family that cooks meth together stays together. So some stories say that it was actually their house that this meth New Year's Eve party happened, and that they were the ones to quote have the girls first, so to sexually assault them first. The tips seemed legit, so they got a search warrant to search their property. They were looking for those VHS tapes, but there was also a pond. And so they got a warrant to search the pond. Now, it was a pretty dried up pond. There had been a drought. They brought dogs out there, but there's nothing. Another dead end. They are not tied at all to the girls at this point. Now, when I'm telling you, there's so many, maybe something. So that's why it's a very frustrating story. So Danny's brother-in-law, Dwayne, seriously believes the girls were there. He was just like, no, I really believe that. And I think that as he learns information from the documentary filmmakers, like even what he believes changes throughout the story. But he said there were too many stories pointing to the Glover's house for him to believe with 100% certainty that the girls were not there. Like, how do all these people who don't know each other still point to the Glover's house, right? So
I mean, that is kind of weird that so many different people would say the same kind of story.
Well, that just kind of means that maybe there was another set of girls.
Oh, right? Well, yeah. Ugh.
He said that they even had a room. Dwayne said that there was even a room with 5 locks on the outside of the doors. So whoever was in there couldn't get out and all the windows were boarded up. Like legit sketch. And then nothing. Like all of this happens at the very beginning of 2000, middle of 2000, and then there's nothing. It's like radio silence. So in 2002, a serial killer named Tommy Lynn Sells comes forward to say that he killed the girls. But that ends up being just a guy who wants to get out of jail for the day and get fed fast food. He's like, haha, I don't really know anything. All the details of the crime came from media reports. They were all super vague. Like, you go down a long road and they had a black mailbox.
Yeah.
But just super vague. But what tipped them off was his description of the Freemans and Laura. Like, he was way off. He said the girls were really tiny. That wasn't true. Like, that Danny had like a pot belly and, like, not true. That Kathy was heavy and not true. It's like he just didn't describe any of them correctly.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of criminals operating in this area, in the documentary filmmakers say, like, in a 20 to 30 mile radius is insane. There's just so many, from meth cooks to serial killers. There's so many that came through that area and just lots of unsolved murders in that area. So really all around sketchy dudes just coming forward, wanting to have bragging rights, I guess.
It's so weird to me.
It's so weird. Like, oh yeah, I did that. But then like, oh, I got out of jail for a day. They took me out into the woods, Stupid. Then 5 years after the fire and the murders, there's a huge tip that comes in. I'm going to say huge in quotes. Okay, so a man named Jeremy Jones is arrested for the rape and murder of Lisa Nichols and an arson of a trailer in Mobile, Alabama. Sounds kind of like the same MO, right? I have to sneeze. It's not coming out. He's a suspect at this point. At this point, he gets arrested, and he's a suspect in so many other crimes, like other jurisdictions all over the country are calling this in Mobile, Alabama, being like, hey, that sounds a lot like this crime, so all these people wanted to interview him because same MO. He was arrested in Mobile, and during the investigation, he's getting ready to leave, and he's like, hey, I have some information about the 2 girls from Oklahoma, and he wanted to talk about it. And so he starts to tell them the story, and he said the reason he wanted to tell it was because he had a guilty conscience over it.
Sure.
Or whatever. Sure. Yeah. But this guy seemed super confident of his description of the trailer. He's like, you walk in, turn to the left, it's the kitchen. He seemed, he didn't like and his way through that. It wasn't like the mailbox is black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, aren't most mailboxes when they're just sitting on the thing? Anyway. So he talked about how he made his way into the trailer, how he attacked Danny first, how he started the fire. He says he didn't realize that the girls were in the house, and so they came running out being like, there's a fire. And he was like, come get in my truck, I'll get you to safety. And he didn't. And then once they were in the truck, he held them at gunpoint. He didn't know what to do with them, so he took them to Galena, Kansas. He said he went there because he said he went to the trailer in the first place because Danny owed money to a friend of his. And here's the deal. Like, Jones was in fact arrested 15 minutes away in another town, but like at 4 a.m. 3:59 is when he got arrested on that morning. So the fire was already billowing at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Like, is there enough time? Like,
yeah,
that you'd have to move really quickly, right? So he was, when they picked him up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he was running from a meth cook. And this
is such an interesting town, I just have to say.
He was knocking on the door of the meth cook, and the guy was like, hey, get the fuck out of here. And he came back like 45 minutes later. So the cook runs after him, chases him away down the highway. He's wearing his cowboy boots, his cowboy hat, and boxers. And he's running down the highway, chasing Jeremy Jones down the highway when he gets arrested. As one does. Just boots, boxers, hat. All right. He said he dropped the girls in one of the many, many, many mines in Galena. They were shut down like in the 50s. They're very, very deep mines. There's actually a river running through the mines now. Like, that's gone. The water is super cold. It's 350 feet deep. Like, there's just, to find them at that point would just have been really, really difficult. They searched for 2 days with no luck. And at that point, Jeremy Jones says, hi, just kidding. Hi, I'm recanting my confession. So Sarah Kaling, who's one of the investigators in Hell in the Heartland, reminds us that just because someone confesses doesn't mean they did it. But also that just because someone recants that confession doesn't mean they didn't do it. Jones is ultimately sentenced to death for the death of Lisa Nichols, and he remains on death row anyway. So that's Jeremy Jones. So years go on, years and years and years go on. Facebook comes around, and so they decide to make a Facebook page. Find Lauria. Her name is spelled Lauria with IA, but they pronounce it Laura. So find Laura Bible BBI. And the BBI stands for the Bible Bureau of Investigation.
I love that.
Because they're their own fucking investigation agency.
That. I mean, I hate that they had to do it, but I love that.
When I say this woman is a badass, she's a badass. She doesn't take shit from anybody. So in 2015, a woman, after the creation of the Facebook page, leaves a tip on, messages them. And it's just the first cousin and Laureen who are running the Facebook page. And she says that they need to look at somebody. She goes, okay, who do we need to look at? She says, you need to look at the well on the former property of a man named Charlie Kreider. So Charlie Kreider was actually Danny's best friend. And it said, but not verified, that they grew pot together. So like he would, I don't know pot lingo, but like he would get the seeds ready and make them bud, and then Danny would take them and plant them and help them grow. Yeah. Okay. Right?
Sure. I mean, so, I don't know. Right? I don't know what the word is for that either.
There's some slicing and dicing happening. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, so they had this little business, on the side. There's no verification of that at all. There's no evidence. There's no physical evidence of that, though. In 2005, Charlie Kreider was actually arrested for murder. He killed a cafeteria lady. That's just wrong. So he was sentenced to 14 years.
So when they got this tip, had they gone to look at the well? Did they go look or no?
So they did. Nothing is found on his property. They even went a second time and they're like, no, you didn't look in the right place. He actually had a basement. His house burned down, unrelated, and they just cleared it. So it's just flat. Everything was flat and there was no house there anymore. Like when they went to go look, they did find the well, but they said, well, there's growth. But he had a basement. And so they dug where the house had stood and dug and pulled up all the concrete that would have been there. And they just waited. They thought maybe they were going to find the bones there. But they did not find anything. Then there's a break. Oh my God. This is like one of the most frustrating stories because I kept going, yeah, no. All these people coming forward. It's great. Tips are great. And this is why we do our show, right? Hey, if you know anything, if you see anybody, if you hear anything, like say something. So in 2017, there's a new local sheriff. So Mr. Suter goes and you get this new guy. And he was a kid, actually, when the events happened. And so when he comes into office, he's like, I want to solve this case. Like he's number one. I was a kid. I was like their age when this happened. I want it to be solved. He's a local kid, this is his murder that he wants to solve. So, upon entering his new job, he discovers, and I'm not even kidding you, a literal crate full of evidence that has not been looked at. A literal black crate, like a milk crate, full of fucking evidence. So this was reported on the in the Washington Post, April 26th, 2018. All right.
What year did the murders happen?
1999.
Wow. Okay.
This is by Kyle Swenson, April 26, 2018. I just snippet. The accused killers kept the Polaroid photos as trophies, witnesses would later tell investigators. The frozen moments were reminders of what they had done and useful threats to anyone who was thinking about talking. There were rumored to be about a dozen pictures, secreted away in a soft leather briefcase. In some images, the two missing 16-year-old girls were bound and gagged, thrown together on a bed, facing one another. Others showed the teens duct taped to chairs. Although law enforcement in Oklahoma never discovered the photos, the lost images were burned into the memory of enough witnesses to serve as vital clues to unlocking a horrific cold case that had stumped investigators for 18 years. After years of false starts and small gains, on Monday, investigators announced they had finally identified 3 men in connection with the abduction and death of Freeman and Bible. Warren Phil Welch, David Pennington, and Ronnie Busick. Both Welch and Pennington are dead. Busick was arrested on Sunday in Wichita. On Wednesday, the cane-using 66-year-old was returned to Craig County to face 4 murder counts. He has not filed a plea, and no lawyer was listed for him. In interviews with police before his arrest, Busick denied any part in the crimes. The 33-page arrest affidavit released by the Craig County prosecutors lays out whispers about the Polaroids, a missing insurance card, and a newly discovered box of evidence reignited a stalled case. The document provides the first detailed account of how the teens allegedly fell down a black hole of backcountry meth dealers and violent misogynists who leveraged fear to keep their crime hidden for nearly 2 decades. But a key question remains unanswered. The girls' final resting place is still unknown. At this time, all focus is on finding Laura and Ashley, Bible's family wrote on Facebook this week. We welcome all information leading to their recovery. Until they are home with us, this will never be over. In the scenario alleged by prosecutors, Welch, Pennington, and Busick came to the Freeman trailer to settle a bad drug deal. Witnesses told police that after killing the couple, the 3 suspects decided to, quote, take the girls and have fun with them, according to the affidavit. Another individual told police the girls were held for a matter of days at Welch's trailer and were raped and violently strangled to die. The men allegedly said that if, quote, if they wouldn't have taken off running, they would still be alive. The bodies, police allege, were thrown in a pit. A former girlfriend of Welch's told investigators that when she lived with him in the months after the murders and disappearance, the alleged meth cooker actually decorated the walls of his trailer with the missing posters promising $50,000 for information about the girls. Then there were the Polaroids. The girlfriend told police she discovered them after Welch was jailed for beating her for a few months after the Freeman murders. Welch kept the photos in a leather briefcase, she told police. She was, quote, certain the girls in the Polaroids were the same 2 girls identified in the reward poster, according to the affidavit. The photos showed the girls bound and gagged and lying on the bed. According to the police affidavit, Welch's girlfriend, quote, reported she recognized the bed as being the one that was in her and Welch's bedroom. The girlfriend threw the photos in the trunk of an abandoned car at the trailer, then fled to a friend's house. When Welch got out of jail, he phoned the girlfriend, demanding to know where the Polaroids were. He told her he knew she had seen them. Don't you ever tell anybody or you will end up in a pit like those 2 girls, he allegedly threatened. The man charged with murder and the other 2 men mentioned, but now deceased, were all names we have had for years from tips received, the Bible family wrote this week on Facebook. The Polaroids mentioned we've known about for years. None of this information was new to us, although seeing it on paper made it real for us. They still need clues. I made a face. You guys couldn't see it, but I made a face, and I'm going to go back to this one sentence because this is the fucking shit right here. I need to find it. Gosh darn it. Here it is. The missing insurance card. Remember when the Bibles hired a private investigator? Well, when he was scanning the property, the Freeman's property, there was a car insurance card, like someone like fell out of someone's glove box. for somebody who did not live on that property, a woman who did not live on that property, who was the girlfriend of Welch. That private investigator, this is within a day of the incident, gave that insurance card to Dwayne. Dwayne turned it over to the OSBI, and Nutter said it didn't mean anything. They had the fucking evidence within 24 hours of the crime to solve the goddamn crime. The one thing that tied it all together, they had. They go over to Welch and they interview the girlfriend and they interview Welch and they're like, oh, don't know how that ended up there. And they left it at that.
So the girls could have been saved? The
girls could have been fucking saved. There are so many things that went wrong from the get-go. That it's so frustrating and it's so sad. And when you see Lorraine, when you see the Bibles and you see the family of the Freemans, like it breaks your heart. It's not fair. Those two girls could have had a whole life. It's just. So, yes, they still need clues. So if you know anything, see anything, hear anything, reach out to the Find Laura Bible BBI Facebook page. Jay and Lorraine Bible will not stop until they bring their daughter home to bury her with her cheerleading uniform.
When you say they need clues, you mean about where the bodies are?
Yeah. Okay. They still have not found the bodies. In September of 2020, Busick, then 68, was handed a 10-year prison sentence and 5 years of probation for his involvement in the disappearance and presumed deaths of 16-year-old best friends Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman. He will receive credit for time served since his April 2018 arrest. And that's it. That's my story.
Wow.
That's my goddamn story.
That makes me so mad, and I'm not like even related to any of these people.
So Hell in the Heartland was also a book. It's now on paperback. Jax Miller. So her and the investigator that she had joined her in the 4-part docuseries, you know, she was just like, man, she has no relation to anybody, but it was like, we will solve this case, you know, like that desire, because they didn't deserve it, you know, and Lorraine Bible just being such a badass, you want to help her.
The fact that not only the police department, but the equivalent of the FBI for the entire state just fucked up so much from the beginning. It's just fucking like, how are you in this position? Like, I get maybe the local police department, but like for the whole state, like, oh my God.
Can we read some answers to the question of the week and cleanse our palate?
Yes. Let me do that.
Lord.
In case you have forgotten, the question of the week was the Grinch stole my blank, and then you're supposed to do predictive text. Maricela said the Grinch stole my dad and I was going on the phone. Laura says the Grinch stole my life from a long day ago so that you could get a different other day. Sarah, the Grinch stole my birthdays. LOL, love you too much. Noelle says the Grinch stole my buddy from my buddy who was just okay.
What? Noelle stole my buddy from my buddy?
It says the Grinch stole my buddy from my buddy who was just okay.
That's funny.
Dev says, the Grinch stole my phone and my laptop is still running. Angela, if you're listening, I fucking love your profile picture. Anyways, Angela says, the Grinch stole my heart and I will try and get it all right now. Missy says, the Grinch stole my way home and now I'm going on the road trip, but it will take me to the spa. Carissa says, the Grinch stole my sister, totally puked in my room. The other Ashley says, the Grinch stole my phone, so sorry for my loss. and Arzi says, the Grinch stole my buddy from the beer store. It seems totally legit there if you are unfamiliar with RC. Martin says, the Grinch stole my friend from the store. Bam says, the Grinch stole my baby. Oh my God.
You gotta say it right. I feel like that one. The Grinch stole my baby.
Michael says, or Shirley, I don't know. They share an account.
It's Shirley.
Says, the Grinch stole my heart.
Oh,
Gina
that one's sad, Shirley.
Gina says, the Grinch stole my car from the Christmas party. Nicholas says, the Grinch...
That sounds about right. It's a minivan, so it'll hold a lot of presents.
Yeah. Nicholas says, the Grinch stole my purse and my wallet is so pretty. Tina says, the Grinch stole you-know-who. Please, Grinch, don't give him back. Oh, that's my favorite. Charles says, the Grinch stole my grandma. Aw.
No.
Melissa, the Grinch stole my car and my phone. Lou Ann says, the Grinch stole my heart and my sister. He is stealing lots of family members.
Right?
Janet says, the Grinch stole my life from a long day. My mother says, the Grinch stole my husband and I will pay for it. It's okay. He also stole you. Lisa says, the Grinch stole my life from a long day.
There's two of those.
The Grinch stole my heart. Chuck says, the Grinch stole... Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Chuck. I also love your profile picture.
Yes, because it's got a baby.
I know. It says, the Grinch stole my car from the last week, and then a couple of weeks I got it for my family. And then Michelle says, the Grinch stole my life, and then says, he can have it, to be honest. Amen.
The Grinch was up to some shenanigans.
So thank you guys for answering the question of the week. If you have any suggestions for future questions of the week, send them our way. I'm just going to start resharing old ones. That's my level of laziness. Excuse me.
And if you want to leave us a voicemail, you go where?
If you want to leave us a review, a voicemail, any kind of message really, you can go to our website, which is catandashley.com. You can send us messages on Facebook. You can send us all the things. Send us beer suggestions. You can send us pictures. You can send us stories. Whatevs. We're down for all of it. We're here. We're here for all of it.
We hope that you guys all have, if you celebrate, happy holidays, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and then we'll see you before the New Year. So I'm not even going to say Happy New Year. I did get an amazing Christmas present from Ashley today and from Sarah.
Yes.
And I am so behind that theirs are not wrapped, so they're just going to have to come over to my house next week to get it.
Yeah, we're going to maybe start recording together in the same room again soon. So maybe we'll, for 2022, have our shit together for the show. Who knows? New year, new us.
You know what?
New podcast.
Keep expectations low. Keep expectations low. All right, everybody. Have a great holiday. We will see you next, in 2 weeks. I guess 2 weeks.
Yes.
I don't know what you're going to see.
It's whatever. You'll see us eventually.
Merry Christmas, everybody. See you soon.
Merry Christmas. Bye.